Well, to discuss all that's going on in Zimbabwe, let's go to its capital, Harare, where we're joined by Bright Matonga. He's Zimbabwe's former Deputy Information Minister. And in Nairobi, we have Berhan Taye. She's an activist and leads the Keep It On campaign at Access Now, a global initiative to stop internet shutdowns. I thank you both for joining us on the Newsmakers. Bright, we've got reports of people being shot in the head by Zimbabwean forces. What's going on? This has gone out of hand, hasn't it?
No, it hasn't gone out of hand. The government of Zimbabwe introduced austerity measures. Basically, they had to put in measures, they had to increase taxes so that they can control expenditure. So obviously, when you introduce austerity measures, there are repercussions. Things become scarce, but it's not the case now. The government of Zimbabwe introduced fuel prices from about $1.31 to $3. In US dollar terms, it raised is 40 cents a liter to 90 cents a liter. This is the current position in terms of US dollars. Of course, then the so-called trade union, Zimbabwe Congress of Trade Union, and other NGOs then incited people to go into the street. And then with disturbances on a Tuesday, that is...
but people are being shot dead, right? No matter who incited them, no matter who's telling them to go to the streets, people are being shot dead. They're being hunted in their homes. We've got a report from the Zimbabwe Association of Doctors for Human Rights saying it treated multiple cases of gunshot wounds and more than 100 others for assaults. So 68 gunshot wound cases, 100 others for assaults with sharp objects, booted feet, baton sticks, and Amnesty International saying police used firearms and tear gas against protesters. Even if the austerity measures were justified, Bright, and even if you had others inciting people to take to the streets, can you justify what the authorities have done to those people on the streets?
One death is one death too many. But when you are a responsible authority, you choose not to respect the law because they should have informed the police that they want to go and demonstrate. That is allowed. They didn't do that. Obviously, I'm sure they had reasons to do so. What you've also left out in your report is Zimbabwe lost about $300 million worth of properties. Supermarkets were destroyed. So there was a lot of looting going on. Cars were burned. Police officers were killed by the demonstrators. So really, from government's perspective and from the demonstrators' perspective, it's not good to incite people to go in the street. We don't want people to die. It's not a good thing. Maybe the government may have been a bit too heavy-handed. Right. But again,
okay, so that's
important.
Okay,
that,
that's a crucial point. Yeah, it's interesting. You say maybe the government was too heavy-handed, and it's interesting to get that admission from you. So Berhan, as we look at the response, and I know you specialize here at looking at the choking and the shutting down of the internet, but is this a part of a broader clampdown?
Definitely. So I just want to respond quickly to the answer that definitely the government used excessive force. It's not maybe. 12 people dying, being shot with live ammunition can never be justified. There were many, many more people that were shot. 78 people is what the report that the Zimbabwean Human Rights Forum has given out, I think today or yesterday. Multiple dog bites. It's a chaos. So the honorable, former deputy minister saying that it was maybe it doesn't really help in this case. They used excessive force, and there's no way to deny that. And people that died are. Obviously, you can see he has not been affected by this because there are many, many people that have been affected by this. And even looking at how the internet shutdown was carried out, now the court just today said that the Minister of State doesn't have the right to give a directive. It's only the president that can. So technically, the internet shutdown is also illegal. Right. And what that has done is that it has suffocated people. People could not access information. They could not get emergency and medical services. They were not able to reach their families. Even one of our colleagues from MISA Zimbabwe tried to join this call today, and he was unable because because of how the shutdown and the social media has affected it. So
that's a good point.
Yeah, so this is
that's a good point. Yeah,
it's insanity.
So Bright, you're talking to us on Skype. You've spoken to us and communicated with us on Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp and Skype and so on over the past 2 years since we've been inviting you onto this program. Do you agree with the High Court that it was wrong for the government to order the internet shutdown?
Obviously, if there is a ruling by the courts, that has to be respected. But the most important thing, what we need to understand is that these NGOs are causing chaos. They are sponsoring violence in Zimbabwe, and people are getting killed, and they rush to publish these pictures of people. They are giving youngsters, vulnerable youngsters, drugs to go and cause chaos. I think it's very wrong.
But Bright, do you have evidence that they've given them drugs or weapons or anything like that?
Yes, we do. I've driven around the high-density suburbs. I've spoken to young people there. They've been given drugs. They've been given, obviously, food and hard drugs to go and cause chaos. When you see demonstrators killing police officers, it's not good. If you see demonstrators charging at armed police officers, it's not a good thing. In the United States, you get called. I'm not saying it's a good thing.
Okay, but again, one of the reasons why, certainly one of the reasons why the internet shutdown has impoverished all of us is because it's difficult to verify any of this, because you're telling me stuff you saw. It's difficult to find images and it's difficult to find reports because your government shut down the internet. Let me ask you a big picture question, Bright, because we've been charting Zimbabwe's new era together as you've been on the show multiple times. For many people, as they see police gunning down people on the streets and hunting people down who are protesting something that's very legitimate, they see Emmerson Mnangagwa as just a new coat of paint on an old wall, on a Mugabe wall, on an old system. Is that true?
What I can say, this was the demonstration. It was a very good cause, sponsored by bad money, because people don't want Zimbabwe to succeed. They don't want President Mnangagwa to effect the change that he promised. They're trying by all possible means to stifle that development. Zimbabwe is calling for help. The president has reached out to say to the world, this is a new Zimbabwe which is open for business. We want the international community to support Zimbabwe in one way or the other. You can't just fold your hands and say, and look, you sponsor violence, you know talk about
Okay, interesting, Bright. And this is not a good look for international investors if President Mnangagwa is trying to get money in. It's really not a good look. Berhan, come in.
So how would Zimbabwe attract investment and business if they're shooting protesters with live ammunitions? That those two don't add up. So
NGOs,
you can't ask the international community to come and support you. You
are paid money. You are paid money to destroy Zimbabwe. You are paid money to scare away investors. You are getting paid with your NGO. That's what you're doing. This death or injuries that has happened on people of Zimbabwe, you should take responsibility. You should be ashamed of yourself that these people that have died, you sponsored death. You sponsor them. You are like the jihadists who give, suicide bombers. This is exactly what you have done. You are like suicide bombers.
But again,
you
Bright,
want people to get killed.
Bright, you've not given us any examples of specific instances of protesters shooting at police officers or conducting violence themselves. You're saying NGOs are sponsoring them, but all we have so far, from the best available evidence, is that Zimbabwean authorities have been the one beating people up. They've been the ones shooting people in the head. So you understand why we're a little bit skeptical.
Well, if people wanted to demonstrate, it's their constitutional right. They are allowed to do so, to inform the police. But if you don't follow the correct procedures, you get people killed, properties destroyed. This is exactly what has happened to Zimbabwe. Yes, you're talking about the internet shutdown because the NGOs know what is happening. Say in France with the yellow vest, they encourage people. They play videos. These youngsters. That's exactly what they wanted to replicate in Zimbabwe. It's wrong. It's not good to get people killed.
Even internet shutdowns are not good for business. So obviously the telecom companies are losing so much money. It's estimated that Zimbabwe is losing around $5 million every day for shutting down the internet, and that's without including mobile money and the informal sector. So even, like disregard the amount of people that have been shot dead, the amount of people that are arrested illegally and all of those things, but even the internet shutdown and the way that it's been applied doesn't really help business. Businesses that want to invest want to be able to communicate with their clients. The telecom companies that want to come and invest in Zimbabwe have spent a lot of money to make sure that the infrastructure is there and that they're there to work. But these directives that are illegally just applied here and there don't really help the business as well. So so that you should also really consider that before you say
Right.
Zimbabwe is open for business. You can't just be open in business when it works for you.
You are contradicting yourself. You called for a shutdown. A shutdown happened. Then the government shut down the internet. Now you are complaining and say, but why did you shut down the internet?
I don't think Berhan called for a shutdown. I don't think I heard her call for a shutdown.
No, the NGOs.
Right.
No, I'm talking about the NGOs. She represents NGOs. They called for a shutdown of business. That happened. Government did shut down the internet. Both sides, I don't think that was uncalled for. There should have been dialogue, peaceful demonstrations that is allowed, and all these things could have been avoided.
Okay, trouble on the streets. Listen, Berhan and Bright, I've got to move on. Okay, final word from you, Berhan, and I apologize, but last 20 seconds, please.
I mean, what's important here is that, to really understand what happened when the internet was shut down in Zimbabwe, and what really happened was that people were, the military and police forces went around homes, picked up people, they bit people, they arrested people, and we were unable to find much information about the human rights violation that happened in Zimbabwe, but now slowly information is coming out, and I think it's important that the government acknowledges that this acknowledges and respects the decision of the court and really unblock social media. And I really want to also ask, how the honorable deputy former minister is also using Skype. I think Skype is also technically blocked, so he must be using a VPN.
Okay, Bright, you don't have to answer that because we're out of time. I'll let that be the final word. But listen, we'll have you both back on the program in the not too distant future. I'm completely out of time. Nobody wants to see trouble on the streets of Zimbabwe, especially since people want the country to thrive. So these are troubling times on the streets right now. But I thank you both for joining us.